feel like in life we get so preoccupied with looking that we fail to see what's right in front of us and all around us. I feel like in life it's sort of lived in sort of a backseat role as if we're some observer of what's something that's not actually within the life, but we are. I feel like it's important to not look, but to be present enough to see. To realize that a lot of the things that we look for, a lot of the things and missing pieces and parts to ourselves are already within us. And the fact that we look for it in the external world is sort of exemplary of the fact that, they belong inside and not out there. You look for your value so outwardly that you forget you have internal value. But the whole reason we're looking for external things to show us our value is because of what we lack internally. And it go back to the I don't know, the idea that we look for an external solution to internal problem. We feel almost as if what we do doesn't benefit us, or what we do doesn't contribute to our longevity as it pertains to whatever it is we endeavor ourselves to. And basically what I mean by that is, a lot of our problems, a lot of the things we try to overcome aren't necessarily for overcoming the problem, but overcoming ourselves. We have to realize that a lot of our issues are sort of projections of our own insecurities as it pertains to the world. I'm not saying overtly. I'm not saying everyone's insecure. I'm not saying anything of the sort. I'm saying that a lot of our problems are only problems because we allow them to be. In regards to things that are, of course, moral and mundane. Of course, if you get outside the box, there's things that are negative. But as it pertains to us and our self-help and our healing and self-discovery, I feel like any importance should be present enough to see. You shouldn't always look for yourself in things that you aren't. I feel like it's important to realize where you are and realize what you have and what you possess as a person. And one thing I feel like everybody possesses, regardless of where they are and who they are, is value. To be alive, I feel like it's simply a expression of that value, an expression of who we are, an expression of, how bountiful life can be. Because I feel like even the possibility of good is a good thing. The possibility of success is a good thing. And it's important to live in a sort of a relation to that positivity, that possibility, that will benefit you. Because it's easy to, of course, get negative and live in a state of despair, not hope for anything or not dream or whatever you want to do. But I find that, you have to invest your energy into that which you want. And if you constantly invest it into, I don't know, the past or some type of negative circumstance or a feeling of anxiety or a feeling of this, that, and the other, then you ought to create that over and over again. Because what isn't resolved, I feel like repeats, and what you give your energy to is where your attention flows. Energy flows where attention goes. And if you give your attention to all the negativity, that's where your energy will be in your negative expression. And that's why I feel like it's important to sort of funnel that into something more positive. And first of all, I think that positivity isn't necessarily something that comes from the world. And that's why I feel like it's important to not look, but to be present enough to see, because a lot of times, the things that we're looking for are always inside. You already have everything you need, or everything you need is already here. And that's not to say every physical and tangible thing, like if you don't have a car, of course the car is not here. But in regards to things that you need in order to traverse the world, in order to find comfort and peace with yourself, I feel like it's already here. A lot of people, I feel like, look for themselves, or how do I find myself, or what do I need to do to be myself? And I find that question a little contradictory. Like, you're the one that's asking the question. You're already here. I feel like it's important to realize the implications of some of our questionings in regards to ourselves, and how sometimes they don't necessarily align with the idea that you already have something, you already are enough, or you already are somebody. I feel like we don't need to look for ourselves in anything, because we are in everything already. It's the way you relate to something that makes you within it. Like, I find that the things that make you feel most like yourself are just things that you relate to most, things that make you feel best about yourself, or things that make you feel best in the moment. Because at the end of the day, I feel like we're really just not necessarily chasing a feeling, but understanding that, your experience is cultivated by what you do and how much you put into it. And those things that we can put a lot into and get a good amount out of, we like. Because they show us more parts of ourselves, and what you put in is what you get out. And a lot of times we don't put ourselves into things that we feel is I guess unbefitting of us, or maybe we're just too lazy or procrastinate. Like even me, I always procrastinate at least a tiny bit before I just tell myself like it's always easier in application than in thought. I think we allow ourselves to suffer more than once when it comes to anything that we do because we give it a connotation before we actually go out there and experience it. And that's not to say with everything, and it's not to say don't use prior experience to understand that, I don't know, pros and cons of any situation, but to understand that when you are going through stuff, new things and new experiences, you have to not necessarily keep them in reference to each other, but allow them to be as they are. And use that prior knowledge to navigate the situation as you please, but that's not an excuse to connotate it in a negative way or to already write it off out your head. I feel like any subtle importance in life should be to become born again with each new day and understand that, every day is a gift. Every experience, every ounce of life you have is a gift. And I feel like it's important to use the space you take up. Not necessarily in that you have to do everything, you have to do pretty much anything. But to say that, why not be you? Why not experience the world as you are and do what you can with what you have? Sometimes I feel like we only feel so busy because we're not present enough to really enjoy our ups and downs. And what I mean by that is, I feel like I can only relax in proportion to how much work I put in or how present I am throughout the day. The more present you are during your work and your discipline and whatever you have to do, I find them more enjoyable. Because the more present you are, the more influence you have over any situation, and the more present you are with anything you do, the quicker it's done. And then when you get to your relaxation, when you get to things you actually enjoy, if you're present enough, then it's gonna feel like it's worthwhile. Because what you do won't be in reference to this is that and the other, but in reference to the moment you're in reference to who you are right now and what you're doing right now and how much you can, fill yourself with in the moment. And I feel like if you are going to be filled with anything, I feel like it should be with your own affection towards yourself or towards the world or your own love for everything. Because beauty exists everywhere you allow it to be, not just where it is. It's always like a multiple veil situation in my head. Like there's always negativity out there. There's always positivity out there. And you have to tune into what you want. You have to give your energy to what you want to benefit from and how you want to grow as a person. And I feel like in times in my past where I didn't, I guess, necessarily like myself or the path I was tending towards, most of my attention was focused on negativity. Focused on, I need to be better for this, or I'm not good enough for this, or this, that, and the other. And instead, now I'm just not looking for that. And I don't necessarily even look for the positive expression of it either. Because when you expect some type of positivity in relation to yourself from the world and you don't get it, then you're just a reaction to how the world is. And you should just be a reaction to how you are. It's important to sort of allow things to be as they are and watch them unfold. You take whatever meaning you want from whatever situation, but understand there's a little bit of truth to it and understand that it can be what you want. I feel like any importance should be to, I guess, to look. Or not to look, to see, but not look. Understand that what you're looking for sort of promotes the idea that it's already not here. Like we look for reasons to love ourselves. We look for our value. We look for ways to be confident, ways to do this, and ways to express ourselves in a certain way that sort of implies that whatever it is that we're looking for isn't already here. Like, I don't know. It's like almost asking someone else, how can you be yourself? The easiest way is to just be, because you already are yourself. You already are everything that you need to be. And I realize that a lot of people don't really get that in their head because of some type of negative connotation. But what you are is not necessarily within a spectrum of positive and negative. I feel like you just are. And whatever connotation you want to give to yourself is just there. And of course, there's a honesty aspect to it. You can be a conscious bad person, but I feel like if you have any consciousness towards it or you have any morality towards that, I feel like the importance should really just be placed on being present enough to see those things come out. Present enough to see your wounds, present enough to see the parts of yourself that seek out change. And I feel like that's where the importance is, because the more we run from the parts of ourselves that seek out change, the more we run from ourselves. And the more we look for ourselves in things that aren't us, the more we enforce the idea that what we are isn't enough. You know, the less you think you're the cure, the more you feel sick. The more you feel like your solution is outside of you, the more you're going to feel like you're dependent on that which is not you. And I can't necessarily speak for everyone, because this is really just my experience or my viewpoint of it. But that's what's helped me most of all. Realizing that, I am somebody that's here with me. I can pretty much do anything I want because I'm the one doing it. Your control is as much control as you give yourself. And I feel like when it comes to situations and being yourself and expressing yourself in a sort of confident way, I feel like it's really just about understanding that what you do isn't in reference to anyone but you, and what everyone else does isn't in reference to anyone but them. I might do something for someone. I'm not saying stuff like that, but I'm saying people's reaction to you, or how genuine you think someone is really dependent on them and not you. And if it's not in your hands, I feel like it shouldn't be in your mind. And that's what gives me personal freedom. Understanding that I can't expect anybody to act a certain way, but I can expect myself to act a certain way. I don't have to control the world. I just have to persist in it. I have to live in it. You want to live in the world, not your mind. So why would I, limit my expression or limit my experience based on something I'm unsure of? I don't know what's going on in other people's mind, and I don't know how every situation is going to go. But what I do know is I'm going to be there for it. I'm going to be there in that situation. I'm going to be there wherever I need to be in order to act upon whatever feeling I need to act upon. And I feel like that's where the importance is, and that's where the love is. Because as soon as I stop looking for those parts of myself to, I guess, show me my value, or to show me this or show me that, I saw it inside. You see it everywhere you look, everywhere that you see, not everywhere you look. I feel like everything at some point is a sign of the world's affection towards you. To be alive is simply a blessing. That when you go outside and the sun touches you, you're kind of blessed in that sense. And I feel like it's just important to recognize those sort of blessings and recognize everything that comes to you in your life that you take for granted. Because I feel like gratitude should not live in reference to each other. And when you're grateful for one thing, you can be grateful for anything. It's important to understand that when you constantly look for I guess, things in that regard, you lose everything else. And of course, you can sort of tend your mind towards something in regards to looking. Like, if you look for reasons to be happy, there are plenty. My happiness, I feel like, isn't always determined by just me. Of course, there are circumstances and events that make me happy. That's simple, and that's true. But I feel like when it comes to my overall happiness as it pertains to who I am as a person and how I feel about myself, I think it should not be built upon that which is not me. If you build your foundation within yourself, then no matter what you build on top of it, you'll learn to love and like. But when you build your foundation elsewhere, I feel like that's when you're prone to collapse. It's anything without foundation will collapse. And if you don't build your foundation, something else will. I feel like it's just important to realize how much of yourself you need to put into a situation, how much of yourself is sort of fit to help you out in this world, to help you traverse it, to help you understand it, to help you do whatever you need to do. Because at the end of the day, it's you and you versus whatever circumstance, or versus not even anything. I feel like you shouldn't be at war with the world, but just be at peace with yourself. Understanding that a lot of our problems are really just stemming from our own internal battles and our own feeling with ourselves. Like, if you didn't care about, I don't know, how you felt about yourself, then you would do pretty much anything you wanted. And I feel like it's how you feel about yourself that allows you to choose what you want to do in regards to doing it good and doing it in a better way. Because I feel like for me, whatever I do, I just do what I feel like is best for me. Do what I feel like is going to overall benefit my mind and my mental peace. Like, I'm not going to do anyone bad. I'm not going to do this, that, and the other and create problems for myself that I don't need. Because at the end of the day, your anxiety needs an answer. And even when it comes to our anxiety about things that have yet to come, I feel like that needs an answer too. And a lot of times it's just answered by not putting yourself in a situation to feel anxious about it. Like, if I have anything I need to do that I need to practice for, I'm practicing. and that's all that there is to it. And I'm gonna be honest with myself in regards to my practice, and I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, because at the end of the day, there's so much to it. There's so much to each and every day and each and every life that we live, and I can't constantly be living in reference to something. So it's important to sort of get that stuff off your plate before it consumes you. And I think all that takes is not looking for anything, but being present enough to see what's in front of you, present enough to see everything. And that's not to say don't plan, of course plan, but be in the moment, set something up, and then get back to what you're doing, or be present enough to set up the future, because you have to be present in order to build the future. And I feel like that's where our future is. I feel like any revolution or any getting better never happens in the future, and it always happens in the present. It's always the small steps you take, and how the first step always reveals the second. All that to say, thank you all so much. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Please take care of yourself. Make sure you're treating yourself like a friend. And before I